A really warm welcome to our video for the parents of Year 11. We felt it's the right moment going into the half-term break to communicate with you in order to provide some clarity about the year ahead. I do need to put in the proviso that the information is current as to where we are now, but may change as different scenarios and decisions are made at government level. I am absolutely delighted with the start that all pupils, but in particular Year 11, have made to this academic year, and I have to say they're a credit to you all. They're focused in lessons, and many now regularly attend the revision sessions that we've put in after school. I do feel that this year group has had it tough, and on reflection, I think probably tougher than last year's Year 11, because they'd come to the end of their courses, although didn't obviously sit their exams. I do think that our current Year 11s are going to have to cope with uncertainty as we go through this year. I really hope that the government prioritises Year 11 in particular. Whilst I acknowledge that the government have a really difficult job, they must put pupil welfare and fairness at the heart of their thinking. Through this video, you will hear from Mrs. Page, Mrs. McGee and myself. We will provide detail about the year ahead as it stands, provide clarity importantly around the mock exam process and its importance, and detail about revision techniques that we think will be really useful for both pupils and also parents to hear. You may well have questions having watched this video, and we will provide a survey link where questions and comments can be made. As a leadership team, we will then commit to offer further guidance and support. Please rest assured that we are working with Year 11 pupils prior to going into half term, so they understand about the year ahead and the information that's contained in this video. As already stated, we really hope where we can that this video will provide clarity. Year 11 is obviously a crucial year, and it is important that all pupils achieve the outcomes they deserve, and the doors into post-16 education are open and pupils can be excited about their future. It is really important that everyone has an understanding of the current situation. I am sure that many of you watch the news, but some I know will have switched off from watching it as it seems to be continually gloom and doom. The current plan is that exams will happen in the summer 2021. The government this week announced that exams will be pushed back in order for schools to complete specifications and give pupils and schools more time to revise. The government decided and communicated prior to the summer that content for some subjects will be removed from the potential exams. I have given a couple of examples on the PowerPoint, but there are obviously more. I met with mid leaders prior to the summer holidays and again over the course of the first 6 weeks of the autumn term to discuss, evaluate where each subject was in terms of completing the specification and allowing revision to take place in the classroom. At Studley High, as you know, we operate a 3-year Key Stage 4, allowing that extra year to complete courses. This has obviously worked in our favour with regards to the current situation, and all middle leaders, department leads, feel that we are in an excellent position with regards to content delivery. Of course, I will continually review this through the academic year if the situation nationally or locally changes. I do want to take you through my own feelings to where we stand in terms of exams. I am worried that Year 11 pupils, not in our school, but nationally, have already had time out of school. That has happened locally too. I worry this will continue to happen over the next few months. Studley High School pupils will always be my priority, and I am concerned about the impact of Year 11 pupils nationally being in and out of school and how this creates fairness in an exam system. As you would expect of me, I will continue to evaluate the impact of the next few months and what it brings, and I will be vocal on behalf of our community at raising any potential issues around the fairness of exams. Our absolute promise to you as parents and our Year 11 pupils is that no Studley pupil will be disadvantaged by COVID in terms of outcomes, and that is our absolute priority. We will always put our Year 11 pupils first, and we will continue to liaise with post-16 providers through this academic year to ensure a smooth route into further education for all pupils. Although, as stated, the government have communicated that exams are planned to happen in 2021, I think it would be appropriate to talk you through centre assessment grades last year and how these were calculated, just in case this scenario arises again. I think it's important that in a world of uncertainty that I try and offer potential scenarios so there is absolute clarity about the year ahead. Last year, we were asked to submit centre assessed grades. These grades are the outcomes for each pupil in each of their subjects in what we as teachers professionals think the most likely grade would be. If, and it's a big if, the government decided that due to future national regional complications that we were asked to use centre assessment grades, the following evidence is used to support that grade. Classwork, so what is the quality of work that is being produced day on day? Mock exams, what were the pupils' outcomes from the mocks? So we have talking a little bit more about mocks. We have made changes to our mock exam process. We are launching the process a lot earlier than we would normally do to give all pupils extra time to revise. We have produced booklets that give detail about the content of all exams, and that's really important that pupils can focus on what's going to come up in their exams, and that will support them get it, or support us and them get an accurate picture of where they currently are. We have also considered the timing of exams to give pupils the best chance of doing well. The marking process will go through a standardisation process, and we will be moderating all grades at teacher, department, senior leader and head teacher level to make sure that we've got that process right. We will also consider pupils' work ethic. What is their attitude to learning like on a day-to-day basis? How well are they doing in class assessments? So not linked to mock exams, but in terms of assessments that might happen in English or maths or any of those subjects. Are they regularly attending revision sessions? I appreciate this is difficult in terms of transport for some pupils, and of course we would bear that in mind. I wanted to be clear at this point to help build a potential picture of the last few months as well as the current situation. So again, at the moment, the government have been really clear to say that exams, even though they're pushed back, will happen in the summer. But I just wanted to talk you through what last year's centre assessment grades look like. So what do we want from our Year 11 pupils? We want them, on the whole, to continue doing what they are doing at the moment. Attendance is crucial, as it always is, but I understand that is more complicated this year. I'm delighted that we currently have 96% attendance across the school when the national average is 88% for secondary schools. So again, our Year 11s, through the work that they've done over the last couple of years, the 3-year Key Stage 4, and the fact that on the whole pupils are in school, puts them in a really good position. As always, we need our pupils to show excellent attitude to learning. We need classwork and homework to be completed to the best of each pupil's ability. Mock exams, we need to support, but pupils need to be working towards those mock exams with staff supporting, but pupils taking ownership of revision, both at school in terms of the extra classes that we're putting on after school and at home, and making sure that they are preparing in the right way. And more about revision and the mock exams later in this video. The partnership between home and school is crucial. Your support in terms of what I'm asking of Year 11 pupils is really important. Working together and clear communication is, again, really important in an uncertain world. Just to let you know that we are talking to companies around supporting us with virtual parents' evening. I'm really keen to get this set up, as I feel that this can only help as we start to move forward. I hope to communicate more details around this after the half-term break.
You will receive a mock timetable and booklets with key information from each subject. There will only be one core exam on a day so that students can prioritise their revision time at home. On most days, there are only 2 exams, and not every student will have both of these exams. We have spread the exams over a 2.5-week period so that there is time for students to catch up if necessary, but to also allow time for any final revision and lessons. When students are not in an exam, they will be in a normal lesson, which will be a structured revision session planned by the teacher. The night before an exam is obviously very important. First of all, sleep. Do not let your child stay up late revising. Research proves that last-minute cramming is not an effective revision strategy. They are far better going to sleep at a sensible time and being well rested for the next day. Encourage them to revisit topics they know they struggle with the most the night before, so they're just prioritising those key topics and just having a look at those rather than trying to cram an entire subject. Help them to organise their bag and equipment that they need so that in the morning it's as stress-free as possible. And also lots of TLC at home. They're obviously going to be going through a lot of stress with these exams. As I've already explained, this is the first time that they're going to have had to be tested in this way for a long time. So really making sure that you're giving them as much TLC as possible. The morning of the exam, equally important. Please make sure that you give them breakfast before they leave, or at least pack them off with some breakfast to take with them. Make sure they arrive on time to school. So for the mock exams, obviously, because they're internal exams, we can make sure that they get to sit all of their exams. If in the real exams students arrive late, they may not be allowed to go into that exam at all and will forfeit that exam for their qualification. So arrival on time is very important. They need to have a water bottle to make sure they're well hydrated, but this shouldn't have any labels on it. They need to make sure they have the proper equipment. So for every exam, that's at least 2 black pens. But for other exams, there will be specific subject equipment. So that might be things from rulers and pencils, protractors, scientific calculator. They really need to make sure that they understand exactly what equipment needs to be brought with them. And then also important, stay calm. They need to make sure that they are very measured about the whole experience, that they understand that it's a practice and that whatever comes out of this, we can obviously work with it and help them to move forward. I think sometimes avoiding conversations with friends and doing last minute cramming with friends can also help them avoid getting overly stressed. In an exam, they need to make sure that they follow the rules, and these are really important because if these rules are broken in the real exam, they can be disqualified from that subject, but also any other subject that that particular exam board hosts for them. So it's important that they follow the rules. So no mobile phones are allowed in an exam, and also no Apple Watches or other watches that can access things like calculators and things like that. They are not allowed in an exam. They should be turned off, left at home, or turned off and put in their bags in another room, or handed into an invigilator. No writing on hands or notes in pockets. They must remain silent at all times. So from the moment they enter into an exams hall, they need to make sure that they are silent. They should read all the instructions on a question paper, read through all of the questions, all of the sources carefully to make sure they know exactly what they are doing. Answer all questions they are supposed to. So for some exam papers, that is every single question on the paper, but for other exam papers, they will know which section of the exam they need to answer. So for example, in English literature, if they've studied Romeo and Juliet, as they all have, they should answer the Romeo and Juliet questions. They shouldn't be answering questions on plays they haven't studied before. They also need to make sure they respect the invigilators and behave perfectly in an exam. The invigilators are a representative of the school, but they're also representing the exam board really to make sure that the exams are carried out properly. So they need to make sure that their behaviour is perfect in exam situations. And then finally, try their best. Please encourage them that they need to work for the entire time in the exam. Okay, if they're putting their heads down and spending time resting in the exam rather than actually trying to show their knowledge, then they're not going to get the best out of this exam experience because remember, the feedback afterwards is going to be really important in helping them move forward. So access arrangements are also going to happen during the mock exams. So if you know your child is eligible for particular access arrangements, these will happen in the mock period so that they're used to using them, and also for our own internal reasons we can make sure that they really are entitled to them. So if they've got extra time, 25% extra time, they will get that extra time in every exam, and I really recommend that they use that extra time, because if they're not using it, then potentially that could be removed in the real exam. So they need to make sure that they are proving that they need that extra time. If they have readers or scribes, they need to be practicing using those. If they're entitled to them, then they should make sure that they are working well with their reader or scribe in the exam. If they're entitled to a laptop, they'll have a laptop, but they really need to make sure that that's the best method for them when they're in an exam. If they've been promised something like a quiet room, then that will happen. And then also some students also get the option of rest breaks, where they will have a break partway through an exam. They'll be supervised by an invigilator, and then when they return to the room, their time will start again. So assessments for these have been done. I think some of them are still ongoing at the moment, but most of the assessments for Year 11 for access arrangements have been completed. So finally, just as a reminder, these mock exams are part of a bigger picture. The exams are going to help us in numerous ways to make sure that your child makes the best progress possible in the summer, and we want to make sure that they get the best out of this process.
Hi there, I'm Amy Page and I'm the Deputy Head Teacher at Studley High School. I'm going to talk through with you now the session that your young person has completed in school, which we designed to help them and their understanding of key effective revision strategies. As a parent to a 15-year-old, I fully feel the frustrations of having a young person who doesn't really understand how to revise. And we wanted to design a session that we could then share with parents so that you can support some of the key messages at home and help prepare them for their mock exams. So we began the session with an assembly which outlined the key messages you have already heard from Mr. Eost and Mrs. McGee. Year 11s then moved into their revision session and were explained the key points that we wanted them to be able to reflect on their start to the year, explore the process of memory to understand how learning works so that we can consider how to improve as a learner, and then investigate different revision methods in order to improve the strategies that will help them prepare for the exams, so that the mock process was useful for them and impacted directly on their progress and attainment. The first session they completed explored the importance of memory and how it works so that they could use this to become better learners. We explored how cognitive science works, and there is a link here that you as parents can also watch. It helped them understand that in order for learning to happen, information has to be passed to long-term memory and constantly rehearsed and retrieved so that it can be applied. We also explored the importance of encoding, the idea that for information to pass to short-term memory and then to long-term memory, information has to be encoded in a way that gets attention in the sensory store. All of these principles were then employed as we continued the session and looked at strategies that would aid them in their revision. We then started to explore revision strategies with the pupils. We looked at ones that they already use and then considered the ones that, through evidence, are not proven to aid memory and recall. The ones that you see highlighted green here are the best ones to use to improve memory retention. This does not mean, of course, that the others are not useful. They all have their own place. However, they should use the green ones more to help apply the information that they have revised at home and in class. We then started to explore three key revision strategies that teachers will be modelling in lesson time and through homework over the next few months. Firstly, we explained the effective use of revision cards, and again, there is a link here that parents can use to support further at home. The second strategy we looked at was that of dual coding. Now, dual coding is a process that combines verbal materials and visual materials and aids the way they organise their revision and also improves memory retention. We showed them a short clip that explains how the process works, and again, it's here for you as parents to use at home. What dual coding is not about, it's not about drawing pretty pictures, it's not about pens and the colour, and it's not about revision strategies, just revision strategies for pupils. It can be used in a variety of ways. We modelled some examples of how they could use it, combining images and written information and how they displayed it, and we had a go at trying this in class. We then moved on to our third revision strategy, known as Cornell Notes. Again, there's a video here that will talk you through the process that we showed pupils in the lesson. Cornell Notes is guided by 3 key principles. It includes an area for revision notes, and the idea is that their notes should be kept short. It involves a key question column that they can use after making notes to recap the notes that they've made, and it also includes a summary page as well. The process of summarising their key notes into 2 or 3 sentences or 10 key words is another useful process for them to use. Our final part of the session explored some top tips for Year 11s to consider over the coming weeks. These are also areas that parents can support us further with at home. We talked about the importance of creating a revision timetable to avoid that procrastination stage. This helps pupils focus on areas each week. Sessions should ideally balance schoolwork and times and their workload and other activities to aid their well-being. But a key point is that sessions should be short, aiming for around 30 to 45-minute sessions on each subject, changing subjects each day to make the brain work harder and improve memory and recall. And then the last sort of thing we talked about regarding revision timetables is that pupils should also be entirely clear on what to revise in each session. For example, instead of saying they're going to revise history that afternoon, they need to know exactly which bit they are going to revise in each section. Maybe start with making a list and working through it. This stage takes time and preparation, and teachers will be providing support through the mock booklets that will be online over the coming week. We then finished the session with some top tips and things that we wanted to remember as they explore revision strategies over the coming weeks. So things that really work. First of all, it is okay for them to struggle. The harder it is to learn or remember something, the better the learning process. We talked about that it's okay to get things wrong. If they're getting things wrong, the brain is more likely to remember it next time. We talked about the need to constantly recall information. This could be quizzes, low-stake tests, or practice papers. Whatever it is, they need to make sure that they are constantly applying the revision that they do. We talked about trying to do things from memory, not becoming reliant on notes. We talked about that they would have to repeat some of the information that they look at. Studies suggest that to learn something well, you have to have studied it 3 to 6 times before it enters your long-term memory. So we talked about the fact that they will have to constantly come back to the things that they are revising. And then we finished with some top tips about revising at home. For example, making sure that the revision environment is not cluttered and clean, to try and avoid interruptions with the people in their house, to aim to leave their mobile phones somewhere else so they're not tempted to use it, try and keep home life calm if they can, and to remember to look after themselves. Eat well, sleeping well, sticking to that revision timetable so that you're not revising for a huge amount of time each night. And making sure that they have the right resources. And this is where parents can support at home. So making sure that they have post-it notes, coloured pens, flashcards, paper, folders, to make sure that they are thoroughly organised. And above all else, we talked about that the best way for them to be successful this year is to make sure that they are attending school and have the right attitude to learning. We do hope that parents have found this session useful, but at the same time, please do not hesitate to contact us directly should you have further comments or questions. Thank you.